Welcome back to your soon-to-be favorite podcast. I'm Angelica.
And I'm Kelsey.
And this is
Here We Grow. Because we were saying Mario's so unbothered. Like, how is he so unbothered by everything? And me and Katie were talking, and she was like, you know, something that bothers me. And she goes, it hasn't even happened yet. You know what? Honestly, I'm pre-bothered. And I said, I need a t-shirt that says pre-bothered. That is so genius. And she was talking about something like, I know that someone's going to react this way to this thing.
okay.
And so, like, I'm pre-bothered about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pre-bothered. Hashtag pre-bothered.
That's so funny. I mean, that's a lot of times why I don't start conversation with people, because I know, or I think I know what they're going to say. So I'm like, I'm already agitated, so I'm not even going to go there.
Yep.
I'm pre-bothered.
Pre-bothered.
All the way.
I've been starting to say that now after we had that conversation. What's on your forehead?
A pimple, dude.
Oh,
It just came up when we got to the store.
I saw it.
Pop up.
What? Pop-up?
It said hi to you.
Speaking of pop-ups, did you see the video? Did I send you the video of the girl that hit her head on the doorway and then her goose egg popped up like right in front of the video?
Yeah.
Oh my god, so hilarious. And the comments on that video.
It came up so fast.
It did. Hold on, I want to go find it because the comments are so funny. Okay, this is the video of the girl. She smacks her head. She's making a video for her friends to show them what she's wearing.
Yeah.
And she moves the camera and then she goes to back up and turns her head and smacks her head up against the doorway.
Right on it.
And she looks at the doorway. Well, I'll wait for the comment for that. She walks up to the mirror, which is right in front of where the camera's at, and she's looking at her head in the mirror, and the goose egg on her head is just growing right in front of your eyes.
Wait, are you saying this is as big as a goose egg?
No.
Should I cover it?
No.
Comment below. Is it big?
Is it big? That's what she said.
It's perfectly average.
Remember the pizza cutter. Okay, so here's some comments. In her next video, she immediately cut her own bangs. Friends, you still coming? Her. I think not. KNOT. She has a knot on her head.
That was funny.
You were saved from something. Go to bed.
Literally, don't go out.
So they quote this because she says it in the video. I'm going to have a big fucking goose egg. And then in stars, goose egg enters the chat. The things start to grow in front of the camera. Oh my God. Not tonight. KNOT. Not tonight. I'm so sorry that this happened to you, but I watched this 10 times. She looked at the door frame like it's never been there. And she does. She hits herself in the face or in the head. And she kind of like looks over at the door frame like, what the fuck?
Honestly, I watched it a couple times because I thought it was a time lapse.
Yeah.
Because the amount, like, the way that it grows.
Yeah. So fast.
Quick.
The fact that she turned around and looked at the wall like, where did you come from? But the thing back where it came from more. So help me.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's
so funny.
I bet you those comments were from women.
Yes, they're all women.
I don't even know.
All right. Well, you've seen from the description that today we're talking about women's history and feminism. And so I'm hoping that if you've come this far already, that you are interested in this topic and that you're going to educate yourself the way that we're going to educate ourselves today. Because a lot of what I have prepared for today, I didn't even read through it. Like, I'm going to learn it with you. I had AI write most of it because most of it's factual. So, like, they can pull it from the internet. So I had AI write a timeline of women's history in America. And then I had AI write a timeline of the most influential women in American history. So some of those might overlap. And then I've got some facts about feminism and some misconceptions about feminism. I think a lot of people don't understand feminism or what it actually means. And there are people out there that are representing feminism that are not truly feminists. And so we want to talk a little bit about that. And then Angelica's got some inventions created by women. So I think this was very timely. We were already planning on doing this episode before Election Day. I had mentioned it. And yeah, we didn't know what the outcome would be, but we decided that even more important now that we do this than what we thought previously.
We will also be doing an episode on how the election works because
and like branches of the government and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no expert by any means. I'm just a little girly pop in accounting, but you know what I mean? Like, girl. Yeah, like I at least had an idea, and from my social media, I almost said a lot of you, but I know it's not you who's listening. A lot of people just have no idea how the government works.
Or how voting works.
Mm-hmm. And there's parts that I don't know.
There's parts that I don't know that we'll learn from the episode that we do. So
and that's my thing is that there were some people, this is what I was telling Kelsey that really was bothering me was they would spread misinformation, and then when someone would go and then try to educate them, they're like, oh, whatever. Like,
no. Not my problem.
Yeah, it doesn't really affect me, so I don't really care.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is so disheartening.
But now you've spread information that has swayed someone else's opinion one way or the other that might not be how they truly would decide to vote or not. Yeah, so
anyways.
Stay tuned for that.
Yeah. Also, did you want to say the quote?
Yeah, now?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, now?
Yeah, now?
And then I'm going to talk about last week's story.
Okay. So the quote of the week is not fragile like a flower, fragile like a bomb. And that was, I think, originally Frida Kahlo's quote. And then RBG was also noted quoting that. So I actually posted that. Me and Angelica went and voted together on voting day. And we took a picture after, and I posted that with our photo because on the way to voting day, on the way to our polling place.
Yeah, I'm glad.
On the way to our poll.
I'm glad you finished that, honestly.
On the way to our polling place.
We share one poll. Can't afford a second one. In this economy? And this panorama? Hell no.
We're in the middle of a panorama. You think we can afford 2 polls?
No.
On the way to the polling place, I was listening to our favorite podcast that we have in common.
Ooh, culture.
And they were doing a women's history episode, and I was like, oh, we wanted to do this on our podcast, and we're still going to do it. I didn't care, but I was just feeling so inspired by all the women who have made huge steps in history, and they are so recent. Women's history is so recent.
I mean,
because
we didn't
women
have rights.
Women didn't have rights.
And are about to lose a lot of them thanks to the people that voted for the hot Cheeto. I mean
not the hot Cheeto.
The hot Cheeto. I meant the cheese Cheeto.
The regular Cheeto.
The felony cheese Cheeto.
The felon Cheeto.
The felon Cheeto. We're laughing because it's the only way we know how to cope, honestly, because it's
sad,
ridiculous, and I really thought we as a country were better than what we actually
So I was saying I was feeling inspired on the way to the polling place.
Right. To our polls, yeah.
And to our polls. And
our one poll, singular.
And so they said that quote, they said that RBG and Frida Kahlo quote on the podcast, or on the podcast I was listening to, and I was like, ooh, that's such a powerful quote. Like, you know, in society, women are seen as weak, women are seen as emotional and sensitive, and that doesn't make us weak.
They're
that
not
makes
weaknesses,
us more powerful.
Those are superpowers.
And I just felt like women in our country are so powerful. So powerful. And imagine what we would be capable of if we were just allowed to be capable of those things. Like, I was saying at my job recently, because I've been doing a lot of like extra stuff at work lately and really proving myself for what I can do, like on the logistics end of it. And I was telling my boss, I'm like, you know, for so long I've been saying, like, put me in, coach. Like, put me in. Like, wait till you see what I can do. I know I can do it. Like, wait till you see what I can do. And that is how I feel about women in politics. Like, put her in, coach. Like, wait till you see what she can do. Wait till you see how she can make a great effect on this country. And I'm not just talking about Kamala. I'm talking about any woman in any position of leadership. So
going back to you saying, like, man, if women just like banded together, like, do you know how unstoppable it would be? But you know what, though? Unfortunately, we are so groomed at such a young age to want to be only mothers, to only want to be homemakers,
to compete against each other
for love, as if men are so scarce.
Yeah.
good men are.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, to find true love and only be focused on that to...
And that keeps us in our place.
Literally.
Beauty standards keep us in our
place.
place.
Beauty standards are literally the war on women. Like,
we're going to actually
talk... these things that women worry about that we don't have to worry about, but we do because we've been groomed to do so.
Right. Everything is so rooted in how we're raised in society. Mm-hmm. We're actually going to talk about, because I got full definitions and explanations for pick-me behavior. So we're going to talk about that and how its effects are in politics as well. So let's get into it.
Okay. So first and foremost, I would like to put some respect on my girl's name from last episode when I talked about visiting the House of the Seven Gables in Salem, Massachusetts. I have more information now.
It's so funny because that story really stuck with me, so much so that when I was doing this research, I was like, oh, I need to look her up because she was influential in history. And then I forgot. So I'm glad you remembered to pull it up.
I sure did. I made a point to it. Okay, check it. It's kind of long. Oh, shit, I lost it. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay. This is going to be quite long, but I promise you it's very interesting, okay?
Okay.
So the woman that I was talking about, her name is Caroline Emerton. She's the one that was part of the cellar houses. Mm-hmm. So, here we go. Carolyn Osgood Emerton was born on April 21st, 1866 in Salem, Massachusetts. George Emerton, Caroline's father, worked in the growing chemical industry. The Salem that Caroline grew up in was the Salem of the Gilded Age, when advances in machinery led to economic growth, waves of immigration, and tension around class inequality. These trends influenced Emerton's career choice later in life. Emerton's family valued community service. Sorry. I thought there was more. Emerton's family valued...
No, you thought there was less.
Whatever.
Community.
Okay.
Service. Subtle.
I did think there was less.
You dropped a whole word. Community service.
Okay.
But probably valued community too.
Honestly, yeah. I was right either way.
Okay.
So grandfather gave money to build Salem Hospital. Mm-hmm. Super influential.
Yes.
His heirs donated his mansion on Essex Street to Salem to be the public library. Her mother, Jenny Bertram Emerton, was well known for her charitable work with the Salem Society for Higher Education for Women and the Old Ladies' Home. When Jenny Emerton died in 1912, her obituary read, "She was the richest woman in Salem, well known for her charitable disposition and her ever ready to extend a helping hand to those who were desirous of helping themselves and to those who were unable to help themselves." Emerton herself was a board member at the Carpenter Street Home, a shelter for orphan children, and at the Society for the Preservation of New England Antiquities, mm-hmm. now known as Historic New England. Mm-hmm. Emerton was a founder of the Salem Fraternity, the first boys and girls club to be established in Massachusetts. Caroline Emerton purchased the Turnell Ingersoll Mansion in 1908. Soon after, she hired Joseph Everett Chandler, 1864 to 1942, one of the most prominent colonial revival architects in New England, whose restoration of Boston's Paul Revere House, 1680, proved his abilities. Emerton and Chandler restored the mansion from its early 1900s appearance to its perceived original appearance in 1668. This is the house that we were in.
Yeah.
So it was originally built in 1668. She bought it in the 1900s. Now they're trying to restore it back to its original appearance. Mm-hmm. Some parts of the restoration and interpretation were influenced by Nathaniel Hawthorne's literary classic, The House of the Seven Gables. Hawthorne was a visitor to the house in the mid-19th century, and Emerton knew this story would draw visitors. The House of the Seven Gables opened to the public in April 1910 and has seen millions of visitors since. Mm. After restoring the Turnell Ingersoll Mansion, Emerton continued to focus on saving threatened Salem buildings. She purchased and saved the Hooper Hathaway House, constructed in 1682, and moved it to its current location in 1911. She did the same with the retired Beckett House, constructed in 1687, and moved it in 1924. Today's museum campus reflects Emerton's generosity and dedication to preservation. Emerton used ticket and store sale proceeds from the museum to fund the House of the Seven Gables Settlement Association. In the late 1800s/early 1900s, the settlement house movement was seen as the progressive method to help newly arriving immigrant families adapt to life in their new cities. Settlement houses offered a variety of services, including classes, medical care, and recreational opportunities. In Salem, the first settlement house was run by the YMCA. In 1908, the YMCA settlement program took place in the Seaman's Bethel at the bottom of Turner Street, where the Gables Seaside Lawn is today. The Bethel was a church for sailors associated with the Young Men's Bethel Society that formed in the 1820s. In 1908, Emerton assumed responsibility for the settlement house. She said the offerings included sewing and some other handicrafts, dancing, and gymnasium work. Emerton expanded the program and services of the settlement house to the point that they exceeded the capacity of the Beeman's Bethel. When Emerton learned that the neighboring Turner Ingersoll mansion was up for sale, she purchased it as the settlement's practical and collective center. Emerton wrote of her choice, "If, as is generally concealed, the settlements do the best Americanization work, should not the settlement excel whose home is the ancient House of the Seven Gables, the foundations of which were laid by the first immigrants who came here long ago, strangers in a strange land?"
Amen.
Peace. Mic drop. Residents in the surrounding Derby Street neighborhood were the primary beneficiaries of the settlement house. The area was enclave for Eastern European immigrants, especially from Poland and Russia. Other communities served by Emerton's work included the Irish, Italian, Syrian, and African. The Boston Sunday Pass wrote of Caroline Emerton's restoration of the House of the Seven Gables in 1910. Miss Emerton did not intend it only for a showpiece or a literary shrine, and so she is to turn it into a settlement house for social uplift work. From the beginning, the two diverse goals of preservation and social work have been central to Emerton's organization. After Caroline Emerton's death in March 1942, the Salem Evening News called Emerton one of Salem's best beloved citizens and noted that she gave freely of her time and money for the benefit of underprivileged children and adults, winning the admiration and respect of the entire community. The House of the Seven Gables Settlement Association remains one of about 50 settlement houses that still operate in the United States. Caroline Emerton's organization has survived for over a century and will continue to help generations of immigrant families.
But I think the biggest thing to take away from that story is that this woman saw that in order to make the great country that she lived in, immigrants had to come and settle here. Mm-hmm. And so she wanted to continue that work in helping immigrants settle here.
I mean, literally that this is a melting pot. Did we not all learn about this in school? Like, this is a melting pot contrived of like multitude of cultures and people. Yeah. And it's not just one way of thinking. It's a multitude. It's caring for each other and uplifting each other and community. Like,
I've spoken about on this podcast multiple times. I'm so thankful that I grew up around diverse number of people because it made my life richer. I cannot imagine being just some white girl that went to private school and only was surrounded by white people all the time. My life would not be as rich as it is now. Like, what?
Yeah. And
what do we not understand?
Well, something else you can take from this is her and her family were known amongst some of the richest people in town. And the fact that they used their money to help others.
Yeah. And to help people who are not from their country. To help people who are not from their country. Who do not look like them. Maybe they look like them. They might have come from England. Or like.
But still, yeah.
Finland or something. But. Okay, let's jump into women's history. So the first thing I have is 1781. Deborah Sampson disguises herself as a man to fight in the Revolutionary War.
Like Mulan! Wait, when was this?
1781. So the next thing I have is 1820s to 1830s. The early women's rights movement begins to take shape with the work of women like Sarah and Angelina Grimke, who are active in the abolitionist movement. In 1837, the American Women's College, Mount Holyoke College, is founded in Massachusetts. So the first American Women's College in 1837. In 1848, the Seneca Falls Convention, the first women's rights convention in the U.S., is held in New York, where Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott issued the Declaration of Sentiments calling for women's suffrage and equal rights. So as far back as 1848, women fighting for rights.
Crazy. Those women were so brave, too.
So brave, especially in the time that they've lived in. 1850, the National Women's Rights Convention is held in Worcestershire, Massachusetts. Worcestershire. I don't know, Massachusetts, where leaders like Susan B. Anthony and Lucy Stone push for gender equality. 1869, Wyoming Territory grants women the right to vote, making it the first U.S. territory or state to do so. 1869. Before then, women could not vote. Only men.
Well, in just that state.
But why? Why couldn't women vote?
Because we were seen as property.
And our opinions didn't matter. Mm-hmm. And if they did matter, they didn't want them to matter. Mm-hmm. 1872, Susan B. Anthony is arrested for voting in the presidential election, highlighting the continuing struggle for women's suffrage.
Damn, you go, girl.
If you didn't know, suffrage means the right to vote. 1890.
Susan B. Anthony got arrested, and then what?
1890, the National American Women's Suffrage Association, NASA, is formed, uniting the efforts of leading suffragists like Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Susan B. Anthony, and Carrie Chapman Catt. 1916, Margaret Sanger opens the first birth control clinic in the U.S., marking the beginning of the modern birth control movement.
When?
1916.
1916?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, over 100 years ago. And
just now being able to choose whether or not to have a child. And this is something they were talking about in the Ladies in Tangents episode. It's crazy to think that back then these women were fighting for the right to choose when they wanted to or if they wanted to have children. And now we're fighting for the ability to say, I don't want to have children. Again, the same fight again, but in a different way. In a way that's
I mean, the root of it is they want to tell us what to do with our bodies.
Yeah. And treat us like cattle.
Yes. That just feels so icky to me. First of all, the world is way too populated. First and foremost.
Yeah.
I think it's okay.
Yeah. If we choose to not have a child.
I mean, I think it's more than okay for that to be done, but
also, men can go around and impregnate 100 women, and a woman can only have one child.
How, if anything,
so why are we not controlling how many women men are getting pregnant?
Absolutely. And
yeah.
look at how responsible a woman was to be hey, not even just responsible, but hey, I want to take the power here, and this is what I want to create.
Right.
A man didn't do that.
No.
A man didn't say, you know what?
You got too many kids. Maybe we should.
No, you know what?
Figure out a way
to wrap this shit up or snip. You know what I mean? When would they? And I was telling Kelsey earlier. Sorry, I know this is
because the more children we have, the more we'll be at home and not in power.
I don't think it's that. I think it's religion.
Religion too, but it's added to the whole not wanting us to vote, not wanting us to be focused on beauty standards, because if we're focused on raising children, we're not focused on any power.
But see, to me, I do believe that it's hard because to me, in my life, this is my opinion, I have not seen or been a part of very many great fathers, good, sure. But what I'm trying to say is how is it that they want these children, but they don't want to raise them. They don't want to be a part. They don't want to be so in tune to their lives.
They want to be a part of who they become.
Is it their legacy? What do you want out of this?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Something to occupy their wives.
Maybe. But
so that they can go to work and make all the decisions.
I was telling Kelsey how I've seen this post a lot where it's oh, you can choose. Did you know you can choose your baby daddy? Oh, you went back and had a second baby. So you look really dumb. And it's why are we these not we, me and you, but like as a society, that is totally blaming the woman. When are we going to start to blame men for being shitty fathers?
Why is there a shitty man for her to choose from?
Maybe he wasn't a shitty man to begin with, and then she felt safe enough to get pregnant, and then he turned into a shitty man. Why aren't you holding men accountable?
Right. A common misconception with men who are abusive or men who are toxic is that the girl knew who he was from the very beginning, and that's just not true.
No.
Abusive men don't punch their girlfriends in the face on the first date.
And even if they did, it takes two to make a baby. I don't know if I want to say you guys, it's not you guys. You guys are listening, no, but like
some babies are made with only one consent. Oof. All right, let's move on.
I got really hot in there.
Really got hot.
Really got hot.
Really got hot. 1917 to 1919, women's suffrage becomes a focal point in American politics. Women across the country stage protests and hunger strikes, notably in front of the White House.
Well, you said 1917? Okay, so 1917, 107 years ago? Yes. I was like, check my math. No.
Yes.
No.
117. I was thinking 107. I was thinking
107.
107.
7 years.
Yes.
Is when we started fighting for our right to vote. And the fact that there are women today not exercising their
right to vote after 107 years of this
fighting.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And you know what? Even after we received the right to vote, there's still voter suppression. Like there's still ways in which we try to make it so that women can't get out and vote or people of color or anything. 1917, I already said that. 1920, the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution is ratified, granting women the right to vote. So 1920, so yeah.
104 years ago.
104 years.
Wow.
Next one is 1932. Frances Perkins becomes the first female U.S. cabinet member as a Secretary of Labor under President Franklin D. Roosevelt. I've heard Roosevelt was a good president. I wasn't here during that time, so I don't know.
I don't know him like that, but like...
I don't know him like that, but like... 1940s, during World War II, women enter the workforce in large numbers to support the war effort. Yep. I remember talking about this recently. Yeah. Exemplified by the iconic Rosie the Riveter image. However, post-war, women are often expected to return to traditional domestic roles. Wow. Yeah, because like who was in the workforce while all the men were at work? Right. At work. At war. Who was at work when all the men were at work? Not the men, because they don't work. No.
Yeah, it's because they just want to benefit from us. And then when we wanted to continue working...
They're like, no, you need to go back home. We'll work. 1955, Rosa Parks act of civil disobedience by refusing to give up her seat on a segregated bus sparks the Montgomery bus boycott, a critical moment in the civil rights movement. 1960, the birth control pill is approved by the FDA, allowing women more control over their reproductive health and independence.
1960?
1960. Dude. And then back then, if you had a birth control pill, you were seen as a whore. Because why do you need a birth control pill? You should only be having sex when you're married and ready to have children.
See, okay, you know what? It's so... I almost ate the mic. Did you see? It's just so fucked up that it's not... Granted, you can keep birth control a secret, but if someone finds out, you're automatically, like, stigmatized for it. Yeah, yeah. Good, bad, in between.
And it just means that I'm having sex like everyone else, literally, and I don't want to have a child.
And why are men not like that? Like going back to...
you have a condom in your wallet, you whore?
Yeah. But going back to, like, what you said, like, you know, there are restrictions on the wrong sex. A woman gets pregnant, she
can only be pregnant one time in a year, basically.
Essentially. And a man can impregnate, like... hundreds of
thousands of women in that time period. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
That just goes to show the power of the patriarchy.
Absolutely. I hate it.
I hate it.
I hate it.
It's gross.
Do it for the matriarchy.
1963, Betty Friedan publishes The Feminine Mystique, which critiques the limited roles for women in society and ignites second wave feminism.
Hot.
Kind of want to look that book up.
Yeah.
1964, the Civil Rights Act is passed, and Title VII of the Act prohibits discrimination based on sex in employment. So that was 1964.
Jesus Christ.
3 years before your mother was born. 3 years before your mother was born, before the government passed a law saying that that jobs could not discriminate against you because of your sex.
That was only 60 years ago.
And that's not even the Equal Pay Act. We haven't even gotten there yet. That doesn't come until the 70s or the 90s, maybe. We'll find out here in a minute.
I cannot even compute.
No.
I cannot even compute. Are your grandmas okay?
Right. Like the trauma.
What the hell do they think about what the fuck's going on right now? My God.
And, for those of them that grew up during this time where they didn't have rights and voted for the person who's taking the rights away, that doesn't compute for me. It doesn't compute. Like, where's your pride in your womanhood? In your freedom? 1966, the National Organization for Women is founded by Betty Friedan and others to advocate for women's rights. 1971, the first Women's Liberation March is held in New York City. 1972, the Equal Rights Amendment is passed by Congress but fails to gain enough state ratifications to become law. 1973, the landmark Supreme Court case Roe v. Wade legalizes abortion nationwide. 1973.
It's a shame it was overturned 50 years later.
1974. The Violence Against Women Act is introduced, but could not be passed until 1994.
Why?
We're going to come back to that.
Why should there be a law
that has to protect women from violence?
My God.
How about protect any person from violence? Yeah, we'll come back to that because it's on my timeline for 1994.
Wait, that reminds me. I don't know if you're going to touch on this or not, but have you seen those posts where it's like, and they're mostly by men, and we know not all men, okay? We don't have to keep explaining this, but like, they're just. Yeah. I said that to someone recently, and they were like, "Not all men," and I'm like, obviously.
Was that one of your coworkers?
Yeah.
Could have guessed.
Yeah. Anyway, where they were like, marriages aren't lasting like they used to.
It's like good.
Yeah, that's
because
amazing.
How many unhappy marriages were there?
Yeah.
That people were stuck in and depressed in and miserable their entire lives.
Women could legally not get a divorce.
Yeah.
Women legally could not work, own property, have a credit card, have a bank account.
We are going to talk about that, yep.
Like, of course they are not lasting like how they used to because we have rights. Yeah. And we have standards and we don't have to stand for that fucking shit.
Freedom.
Literally.
Yeah. The freedom to decide what we want in our own lives.
Marriages are not lasting for a multitude of reasons.
I mean, statistically, if you look at why divorces happen, it's because the woman is unhappy in the marriage.
Yep.
Period.
Step up.
Or they're being abused.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Very bad. Don't do that.
Don't do bad things. Don't get a divorce.
Maybe be a good, decent human being and, don't get a divorce.
Yeah. 1974, the Equal Credit Opportunity Act was a landmark piece of legislation that gave women the legal right to open a bank account and apply for credit in their own name without needing a male cosigner.
My God, when was that?
1974, 1 year before my mother was born.
That was 50 years ago.
Your mom was 7 years old when this happened?
Mike, when she was able to, I mean, not them, obviously, because born and 7. So, like, obviously not going to happen. But
by the time she was an adult, luckily she was able to open a bank account and sign for stuff.
I have opened so many credit card accounts. I've had a multitude of bank accounts.
Me too.
And I did that so mindlessly.
Yeah. Like it meant nothing.
Yeah. You go online, you apply, boom, you get approved.
Yep.
The fact that 50 years ago you could not do that blows my mind. Like
we just got a car. I never updated you guys on this, but we did get a new car. And when we were signing the paperwork for it, because of the way our income is situated, I was the primary applicant and my husband was the co-signer. So not because I needed him to be, but because both of our names were going to be on the card regardless. But, back in 1973, No, the husband would be the primary applicant and the woman would be the cosigner, if the cosigner at all.
You know, I loved my, I almost said deceased partner.
Ex-partner.
No, it's just because I read a meme where it's like, I'm going to start referring to my ex as like, you know, they're no longer with us.
Yeah.
They're no longer with me.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Or us.
Yeah. Like, you know, at the time, I loved him very, very much. But still, like, it was such a power move to sign, like, to be the sole person on my mortgage, to be the sole person on the deed of a house.
Yeah.
It was such a power move for me. And I'm like,
and
damn.
there's a reason
like,
you felt so powerful.
Because my ancestors couldn't do that.
Exactly.
Well, not just, you know, just, oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
Literally no. Literally what the fuck? No.
So this Equal Credit Opportunity Act that we just spoke of, this was a direct response to the gender discrimination and financial practices that had long been prevalent. Prior to this act, many banks required women to have a husband or male relative sign off on major financial decisions.
So gross.
From the 1900s to the 1960s, single women could often buy property in their own name, but married women were usually required to have their husbands co-sign any mortgage or home loan. Even if the woman had the financial means to buy a home, she might not be able to do so without her husband's approval.
So it's better to just be single then?
Mm-hmm. Seems like where we're headed now.
I honestly, yeah, dude, don't get married.
Don't get married.
If you're already married.
As I am happily married.
But no, but like legally, there are just some benefits to not being married.
That's true. 100%.
Because of the government.
Yep. 1981, Sandra Day O'Connor becomes the first female justice appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Wow.
1981, before a woman is on Supreme Court.
Wow.
1991, Anita Hill testifies before the Senate Judiciary Committee, accusing Supreme Court nominee Clarence Thomas of sexual harassment. Oh. This brings issues of sexual harassment in the workplace to national attention.
When? Sorry, I need to repeat
1991.
1991.
I'll say the year after now.
1991, dude. Yep. Harassment in the workplace. 1991.
1991.
That was 33 years ago.
Yep. Okay, so we're circling back to the Violence Against Women Act that was introduced back in the 80s and wasn't approved until 1994. It was introduced by Senator Joe Biden. Doesn't that just make you want to cry?
We did it, Joe.
We did it, Joe. In response to rising concerns about domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking in the U.S., it was passed by Congress and signed into law by President Bill Clinton on September 13th, 1994.
Okay, Bill.
My mom was 19 and your mom was 27, and both of our parents had just had their first daughters when that was passed.
I know at the time my mom probably had no idea what was going on in politics.
But just to think about that in that moment.
Knowing, like, if...
now it's illegal to be violent against a woman. Just now.
I know, but also, like, they probably, if they had known at the time what was happening, like, to know that their daughters, there was some legal interferences or some kind of legal, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Or biased.
Yeah.
So, what the hell? That was weird. So while the Violence Against Women Act has been reauthorized and expanded several times, there has been ongoing debates over its funding and scope. In 2022, for example, the reauthorization process became politically contentious, and at the time of this writing, Congress has not passed a new version of the law. However, the original version of the Violence Against Women Act continues to have significant impact on the lives of countless survivors. The Me Too movement, the rise of the Me Too movement has brought renewed attention to issues of sexual harassment and assault, leading to calls for greater enforcement of Violence Against Women Act's provisions and further legislative action on sexual violence. For one, the judges that are convicting people in these cases need to be educated on abuse and survivors and things like trauma bonding and the psychology behind it. They need to be educated on it. They need to be educated on it. And so do police officers. Violence against women in marginalized communities. Many advocates argue that more work is needed to address violence against women in marginalized communities, including women of color, transgender women, and immigrant women. 2009. The Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act is signed into law, addressing wage discrimination and making it easier for employees to file pay discrimination claims. 2009. I was a freshman in high school.
I was 13.
I was a freshman in high school when they passed a law that women must be paid fairly in the workplace.
Imagine how our female teachers felt.
Our female teachers, my parent, like my mom.
Yeah, true.
My mom was working at a car dealership.
My mom was working where she works for currently, probably. She been there.
She ever worked anywhere else?
Yeah.
Well, in Chicago, probably too, right?
No.
Oh, she didn't work in Chicago?
I don't think she works in Chicago. I actually don't know. I never asked her.
Maybe you should ask her.
You know, it's funny.
You should read her these and tell her.
Well, she's told me, she was like, I don't know where you and your sister get your work ethic because I hate to work. I was like, girl, me too.
Me too, but I got to do it.
I got to do it.
Insecurity is what does it for me. 2013, the Me Too movement gains momentum with women speaking out about sexual harassment and assault, leading to the widespread cultural and workplace changes.
Wait, what year?
2013. So I brought it up previously because it was attached to the Violence Against Women's Act.
Okay, but 2013 is when it gained popularity.
Yes.
I remember I was in high school.
Me too. I was also not in high school, actually. No. 2016. You were going to tell me?
2013.
What?
It's 2013.
What's 2013?
You just said it's 2013.
Oh, 2013.
You were not in high school.
I was going to the next one, which is 2016. I'm like, no, I wasn't in 20. Anyway.
Yeah, anyway.
Cut that out.
No, leave it in.
No, leave it in.
Leave it in.
That's what she said. 2016, Hillary Clinton becomes the first woman to be nominated for president by a major political party.
You know what? I said this back in 2016, and I hate that I was right, but I said the world is not ready for a female president.
I'm still not.
Well, I thought that this time we were.
I thought so too. 2020, Kamala Harris becomes the first female, first Black, and first South Asian vice president of the United States.
Wow. Such a power move.
2022, the U.S. Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade, removing the federal constitutional right to an abortion, sparking widespread protests and debates on women's rights. And then, of course, 2024, Kamala Harris being the first, well, would have been the first female president, but she was the first Black female, South Asian female president-elect. I
mean, like Kim K said, I didn't come this far just to come this far.
Mm-hmm.
There's still so much work to be done.
Yeah.
This is, the fight is still on. And like Kamala said, like when we fight, we win. And sometimes the fight just takes a little longer.
Right, exactly.
The most influential women in American history.
1591 to 1643, a Puritan spiritual leader in colonial Massachusetts. She was a key figure. Oh, her name's Anne Hutchinson. I don't know what's wrong with me.
I was like, who? I was like, did I miss the name?
She was a key figure in the early struggles for religious freedom and women's rights in America. She challenged male religious authority, was tried for heresy, and was banished from the colony. Abigail Adams, 1744 to 1818, the wife of John Adams, the second president of the United States, and mother of John Quincy Adams. She is famous for advocating for women's rights in her letters to her husband, urging him to remember the ladies when creating the new nation. So even all the way back to the second president of the United States, women are saying, don't forget about women out here. They need help too. They need uplifting. They need equality.
I love that, because never in history were women ever just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're second class.
You said second clan.
Second class citizens. Okay.
Yep. All right. That's fine.
No, I mean, I'm sure some women did, but I'm glad there were women who were like,
well, and we didn't learn that Abigail Adams, wife of John Adams, was a feminist.
Yeah.
We didn't learn that in school.
Hell yeah, brother, sister. Hell yeah, sister.
Hell yeah, sister. So, Sojourner Truth. I can never pronounce this name. Sojourner Truth. Sojourner. I think I said it right the first time. 1797 to 1883. I cannot say these years. An escaped slave who became an outspoken advocate for the abolition and women's rights. Her famous 1851 speech, Ain't I a Woman?, challenged both racial and gender stereotypes. Harriet Tubman, an abolitionist and political activist who escaped slavery and then helped lead more than 300 enslaved people to freedom via the Underground Railroad. She also worked as a nurse and spy during the Civil War. What a powerful woman.
Hell yeah.
What a powerful woman. Like, think about Kamala Harris running for president and then think about Harriet Tubman. Like, what a powerful woman.
Yeah.
Of course, Susan B. Anthony. Jane Addams, 1860 to 1935, a pioneering social worker and the founder of Hull House in Chicago, which provided social services and education to immigrants. She became the first American woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize in 1931. First woman to win Nobel Peace Prize. First American woman.
American woman. Isn't there a song like that?
Yes. Okay. Ida B. Wells, 1862 to 1931, a journalist, educator, and early leader in the civil rights movement. She was a key figure in the anti-lynching movement and a founding member of the NAACP. Margaret Sanger, a birth control activist who opened the first birth control clinic in the U.S. in 1916 and later found what became the Planned Parenthood Federation of America.
Love that.
Ooh, I got chills.
I love that.
Eleanor Roosevelt, 1884 to 1962, the First Lady from 1933 to 1945. Eleanor Roosevelt transformed the role of the First Lady, advocating for civil rights, women's rights, and human rights. She was a key player in the formation of the United Nations and served as its first chair of the Human Rights Commission.
Okay,
what a powerful
Lady Roosevelt.
woman. What a powerful woman.
Oh my God.
Rosa Parks we talked about. Betty Friedan we talked about. Gloria Steinem, a journalist, 1934 to present. This is like the years they were living. A journalist and social activist, Steinem was a leader in the second wave feminist movement. She co-founded Miss Magazine and became a prominent voice for women's reproductive rights, equality in the workplace, and social justice. I would say we're on the verge of a third wave feminist movement.
I sure do hope so.
All right, Shirley Chisholm, the first African-American elected to the U.S. Congress. She was also the first woman to run for Democratic Party's presidential nomination in 1972, advocating for racial and gender equality as well as social injustice issues.
Hell yeah, brother. Sister. Sorry. Hell yeah, sister. We don't care about brothers right now.
Sandra Day O'Connor, 1930 to present, the first woman to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court, appointed by President Ronald Reagan in 1981. She was a pivotal swing vote in many key decisions, especially on issues like abortion and affirmative action.
As she fucking should. There should be more women.
Yes. In these decisions.
Yeah, in these decision-making processes. Yeah.
Mae Jemison, the 1956 to present.
Sorry, could you imagine the conversations or like the things she had to defend?
Yeah.
Or say.
So hard. I'd cry every day. She probably did cry every day.
Oh my God.
Mae Jemison, 1956 to present, the first African-American woman to travel into space. Jemison became an astronaut in 1992 and later worked in science, education, and technology.
When did she go to space?
1992.
Why don't we hear about this?
Well, we weren't born yet.
But still, though, we weren't born when they first went to the moon.
No. But yeah, you're right. We learned about that.
We learned about that. We didn't learn about her.
We may have learned about the first woman in space. We just don't remember.
Is that the one with the tampons and the pads? Where they sent her
maybe.
I thought that was recent, though.
I don't know. Maybe. You have to Google it.
See? We don't know about these things, and we should.
Hillary Clinton, 1947 to present, the first woman to be nominated for president by a major political party in 2016. She served as First Lady, U.S. Senator from New York, and Secretary of State under President Barack Obama. Clinton has been a lifelong advocate for women's rights and children's issues. Condoleezza Rice. I've never seen her name written out before. 1954 to present, the first African-American woman to serve as U.S. Secretary of State, 2005 to 2009, and National Secretary or Security Advisor, 2001 to 2005, under President George W. Bush. President George W. Bush.
George W. Bush.
She was an important figure in U.S. foreign policy during the early 21st century. Kamala Harris in 2020. Kamala Harris made history by becoming the first female, first Black, and first South Asian American Vice President of the United States under President Joe Biden. She had previously served as U.S. Senator from California and was the state's Attorney General. Malala Yousafzai. Although born in Pakistan, Malala's work in advocating for girls' education globally has had a significant impact in the U.S. She became the youngest ever Nobel Prize laureate at 17.
Wow.
For her activism in advocating for girls' education and women's rights. And the last one I have is Tarana Burke, 1973 to present, an activist and the founder of the Me Too movement, which gained global prominence in 2017, bringing attention to the prevalence of sexual harassment and assault. Burke's work empowered women worldwide to share their stories and demand justice. All right. You want to give us some inventions?
Yeah, I'm going to let one back in.
Okay. Yay.
Here are some female inventions. Barbie doll in 1959.
Uh-huh. We all know about that if you've seen Barbie.
It was invented by Ruth Handler.
Mm-hmm.
Birth control pill, which we've already talked about. Bulletproof fiber. Stephanie Kwolek.
Okay, so like for bulletproof vests and stuff.
The call center system. Erna Schneider Hoover. Call waiting and caller ID. Shirley Ann Jackson. Cardiovascular drugs. Eliquis and Cozar. Ruth Wexler. Car heater. Very important for the upcoming months.
Oh, yeah.
Margaret A. Wilcox. Central heating. Alice Parker.
So heating in general.
So incredible. Chemotherapy.
Uh-huh.
Jane Cook Wright. Chocolate chip cookie. Ruth Wakefield. The circular saw.
Wow.
Okay.
All right. When y'all are using that circular saw at work, remember a woman invented that.
Tabitha Babbitt in 1810. Computer algorithm.
Wow, y'all.
Ada Lovelace. Okay. Computer software. Grace Murray Hopper.
You're becoming more and more banana bread the more you go.
Banana bread. Dude.
Hell yeah.
Ah, yeah. Curling iron. Theora Stevens. Diagnostic test strips. Helen and Free.
So like for pregnancy tests and
the COVID test recently.
COVID test, yep.
Dishwasher. Josephine Cochran.
Uh-huh. Of course a woman invented that.
Disposable diaper.
Hell yeah.
Marianne Donovan.
Banana bread, dude. Hell yeah.
Banana bread.
Disposable diapers, dude. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Electric water heater. Ida Forbes.
Lots of heat involved.
Super
curling
smart.
irons, indoor heaters.
Electric refrigerator.
And cooling involved.
Florence Parpart. My God, this is amazing. Feeding tube, dude. Bessie Blount Griffin.
I think I knew that one. Feeding tube.
That's amazing. Fire escape, Anna Connolly. Fire
escape, that's just common sense.
And we have it. Foot pedal trash can.
Of course a woman
Lillian
did that.
Gilbreth. Hell yeah, dude. Home security system. Marie Van Britton Brown. Humane cattle restraints.
Oh, yeah.
Temple Grandin. Ice cream maker. Nancy Johnson. Laser cataract surgery. Patricia Bath. Life raft.
Wow.
Maria Beasley.
Okay. Two more.
Photo enhancement.
Oh, so like filters?
Barbara Askins was employed by NASA. One of her tasks was to look for a way of improving the quality of images captured from space.
Wow.
Better than a filter, bruh.
I just looked over the camera that's not there.
Q-tips.
I knew about Q-tips too.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay, 2 more. Pick them good.
Okay.
Pick a good one.
Okay. Oh, retractable dog leash. Mary A. Delaney. Rock and roll, dude.
Wow.
Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Software that made the moon landing possible. Okay. Margaret Hamilton. Science fiction. Mary Shelley. Stem cell isolation and Tsukamoto. I think I've heard of that. Submarine telescope and lamp. Sarah Mather.
Volume on this
Windshield wiper. Mary Anderson.
I think I heard that too.
I heard that. Word processor. Evelyn Berezing.
Hell yeah.
Dude, amazing. I love that for us.
So good.
So smart.
Such great stuff.
Wow.
Now you'll think of those things when you're using them and think,
a woman created this.
A woman invented this.
A woman invented this.
All right, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back with some feminism. Let's talk feminism. And the reason I wanted to include this is because I think I've seen on social media a lot of misconception about feminism. I would say my husband is a feminist. I'd say Mario's a feminist. And it's okay for a man to be a feminist. I know we have a lot of male listeners, and I would urge you to be open-minded when we talk about this, and you may discover that you're also a feminist. So,
and it literally just means women can do whatever they want.
Right. So let's get into it. So the actual definition: feminism is a social, political, and cultural movement and ideology that advocates for the equality of all genders, with a focus on addressing and challenging the historical and ongoing inequalities that women face in society. At its core, feminism seeks to promote women's rights and opportunities while also working to dismantle systems of oppression, discrimination, and patriarchy that limit the freedom and equality of all individuals, regardless of gender.
Ooh.
So let's talk about that last part. That limit the, breaking down these systems that limit the freedom and inequality of all individuals, regardless of gender.
Wow. Powerful.
So what we're saying here is that feminism isn't just go women, it's go anyone to have equal of anything. And let's talk about equal. I think there's a misconception, especially in today's society, that equal means that we're taking something from you, and we're not. Giving me an equal piece of the pie doesn't mean I also get your piece of the pie. It means I get my piece of the pie. I have a piece of pie, or I have a piece of pie. I have a pie here, and it has, say, 3 pieces. You get a piece, and I get a piece, and that's equality. Whereas you believe that when I say I need a piece of the pie, that I'm taking your piece away, and that's not true. So key principles of feminism. Gender equality. Feminism advocates for equal rights for people of all genders, emphasizing the need for equality in areas like education, employment, politics, healthcare, and legal rights. Let's talk about equality in healthcare. Women have to advocate for themselves and fight for doctors to run tests on them every single fucking day, because women are not believed in the doctor's office. When a woman says something's wrong, they go, "Oh, it's because you need to lose weight. Oh, it's because of your period. Oh, it's because of your hormones." Instead of actually running scientific tests to find out what's wrong. Number 2, empowerment of women. Feminists seek to empower women by advocating for their right to control their own lives, bodies, and destinies. This includes the fight for reproductive rights, equal pay, and access to education. Speaks for itself. And when we say empower women, we're saying showing women that it's okay to use your power, to be who you are in society and do what you want to do. That's what empowerment means. Challenging patriarchy. Feminism critiques patriarchal systems, social structures where power is predominantly held by men, and aims to dismantle these systems in favor of more equitable structures. Let's talk about equity. Equity is different than equality because equity means... Okay, let's see. What's it good?
You know that meme or that picture? And I always get them mixed up, which is equity and which is equality, where they're trying to look over a fence. and one's given like a higher stool.
Mm-hmm.
There's one that means given the same height a stool, but one person's still above the other because they're taller. Right. And then the other one is different heights so that they can both see the same thing.
Right. So there was a TikTok video of a teacher describing this to her students, and she said, okay, student John, if I tell you to come up here and write on the top line of the chalkboard, could you do it? Yes. Okay. Student Gregory, if I told you to come up here and write on the top line of the chalkboard, could you do it? No. Why can't you do it? Because I'm too short. So what would you need to be able to write on the top line of the chalkboard? A stool. Okay, so it would not be equal if I had you both come up here and try to write on the top line of the chalkboard because Gregory has a disadvantage with his height. It would be equal or equitable to allow Gregory to use the stool, but not John, because John doesn't need the stool. John can do it without the stool, and Gregory needs the stool. That is equity. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Think so? Mm-hmm. Okay.
So equity is to get them to both do the same thing regardless
of what supports they need.
Okay. And then equality
is the exact same thing.
Okay. So yeah, so like I was saying how like there's one tall kid and one short kid trying to look over a fence. Mm-hmm. Equality would be to give them both the same size stool. Mm-hmm. The taller kid still sees more than the shorter kid. Has better opportunities versus equity.
Where one kid gets a taller stool and they both have the same opportunities. Mm. It's kind of like, I hear this conversation a lot in when we talk about...
Wait, are we sure that's right?
Yes, I'm sure. Because I'm about to give another example that's similar to that.
Okay, so because you know like they pipe like equality, but with our definition or with our example,
both are needed. Both are needed.
Yep.
But by allowing equity in these situations, we've provided equality.
Okay.
We've provided equal opportunity.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Cut all that out.
Okay. I think I should say that last thing though.
Okay.
Okay.
It's our podcast.
I hear a lot in like conversations about racism and stuff, about like, Black people not having the same opportunities as white people. And people will argue, well, you do. You can go to school just like me. You can get a job just like me, whatever,
You have 200 years on me.
Exactly. Your starting line was 200 years ago. And my starting line was, 60, 70 years ago? I don't know when the actual... We'll have to fact check that and I'll put it right here.
Mm-hmm. See, we're learning.
Yeah.
The most influential women in American history.
Like, that's the point.
Yeah,
it's like,
right.
This is not equitable opportunity. This is not equitable to receive equal opportunities because I didn't have generations of people with privilege. You did. Mm-hmm. You have housing security because of your generations of privilege or whatever. Not saying that all white people have generations of privilege, but a lot of white people do.
I always thought about that. Like, people who have been in this country for generations upon generations. I mean, y'all should be like, everyone should own their homes and your great grandchildren should not be paying rent or a house mortgage payment. Like, you should be, inheriting that house from your grandma and not have to pay rent because she owned it. Like,
right.
All of these generational wealth. And Don't get me wrong, that's not always the case, but you know what I mean? Like,
what's there to show for it? Right.
But they did have those opportunities longer than everyone else.
Absolutely. Number 4, intersectionality. Feminism today recognizes that gender inequality intersects with other forms of oppression such as race, class, sexuality, ability, and more. This concept, introduced by scholar Kimberly Crenshaw, emphasizes that women's experiences of oppression cannot be understood in isolation from other social identities and systems of power. 5, social change. Feminism is not just about individual empowerment, but seeks broad social, political, and cultural change to achieve gender equality. Feminists work to reform law, raise awareness, and shift societal attitudes towards gender roles and expectations. Types of feminism. The reason I wanted to bring this up is because one of the reasons that feminism gets a bad rap is because there are people out there misrepresenting feminism. They're saying, oh, I'm a feminist, and they are actually hating men, or they're actually like tearing down men. And like, that's not the point of this. The point of this is equality, not to, because we don't need to tear down the opponent to become powerful.
Right.
And he's not supposed to be the opponent. The man is not supposed to be the opponent. Liberal feminism focuses on achieving gender equality through legal reforms such as equal rights in voting, education, and employment. Radical feminism seeks to fundamentally change society by challenging patriarchy and advocating for the overthrow of traditional gender roles. Marxist/socialist feminism links gender oppression to economic inequality, believing that women's liberation is tied to the dismantling of capitalist structures. Oof. That's interesting. Especially, I'm sure they link capitalist structures and women's liberation to like beauty standards and marketing beauty products and clothing and all these things. Intersectional feminism, as mentioned, focuses on how gender intersects with other identities such as race, class, blah, 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 blah. We talked about that. Ecofeminism connects the exploitation of women to environmental degradation, seeing both as products of patriarchal structures. Wow. Let's see. Common misconceptions about feminism. Feminism is about hating men. Feminism is not about hating men or wanting to oppress them. Instead, it seeks gender equality, a society where all genders, including men, women, and non-binary individuals, have equal rights and opportunities. Feminism challenges the social systems and structures that limit people based on gender, and many feminists are also concerned with dismantling toxic masculinity, which harms men as well as women. Boom. Big mic drop right there. Let me repeat that again. Feminism challenges the social systems and structures that limit people based on gender, and many feminists are also concerned with dismantling toxic masculinity, which harms men and as well as women. Do you want to read the next one so you can wake up a little bit?
Yeah, because my eyes are like doing this.
Yeah, I know. I can see.
Oh, God.
Your eyes get red when you're about to fall asleep.
No, my eyes get red when I'm sleepy, but I can't go to sleep.
True. I just ate the mic. True.
Am I 2 or 3?
2.
Okay, 2. 2. Feminists believe women are superior to men. Reality. Feminism does not claim that women are better than men. Rather, it advocates for equality between the genders, challenging the idea that one gender is inherently superior or inferior to another. Feminists want women and men to have equal rights, opportunities, and access to resources, not for one to dominate the other. How beautiful is that?
Mm-hmm. Boom.
Not for one to dominate the other.
Go ahead, do the next one. Put you to work.
Number 3, feminism is only for women. Reality. While feminism focuses on addressing issues that disproportionately affect women, it is a movement that benefits everyone. Feminism advocates for this dismantling of harmful gender norms that affect all people, whether they are women, men, or non-binary individuals. For example, feminism also tackles issues like toxic masculinity, the pressure on men to conform to certain roles, and the importance of men's mental health and emotional well-being.
Amen.
Number 4, all feminists are lesbians or have unhealthy gender roles. Reality. Feminism is not about sexual orientation, and it's not a movement that includes people of all sexual orientations and gender identities. Feminism is about advocating for gender equality regardless of one's sexual preferences. Many feminists are heterosexual, cisgender women or men. The movement
Number 1 and number 2 right here.
The movement is about challenging systemic gender inequality, not about endorsing any particular lifestyle or sexual identity.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, feminism is no longer necessary because women have equal rights now.
Ooh.
What dumbass wrote this? Sorry. Reality. While women in many countries, including the U.S., have made significant strides towards equality, e.g. the right to vote, access to education, workplace rights, gender inequality still exists in many forms. Women continue to face issues like the gender pay gap, underrepresentation in leadership positions, sexual harassment, and violence. Feminism remains a necessary force for addressing both legal and cultural gender imbalances that persist in society. Number 6, feminism only focuses on white middle class women. Reality. This is a misconception because Number 6. Number 6, feminism only focuses on white middle class women. Reality. This is a misconception because feminism is inherently diverse. The notion that feminism is just for white middle class women has been actively challenged by feminist scholars and activists, especially with the rise of intersectionality, a term coined by Kimberly Crenshaw. Intersectional feminism acknowledges that women's experiences of oppression differ based on factors such as race, class, sexuality, ability, and nationality.
So to that point, some white women are more privileged than black women. They are both oppressed by being women, but white women have more privilege than black women.
Black, Indigenous, Latina, Asian, and working class women, as well as transgender, disabled, and queer women, have historically been at the forefront of the feminist movement. Number 7, feminism is against traditional family structures. Reality. Feminism is not inherently opposed to families, whether traditional or non-traditional. Feminists advocate for equal partnerships within families, where both men and women have the freedom to pursue their careers, education, and personal goals, while also being involved in family life. Feminism encourages shared responsibility in household labor, parenting, and caregiving. It's about challenging the gendered expectations that women are primarily responsible for domestic duties and caregiving. Period.
I have heard before people say, like, oh, if you don't want to have kids, then, like, as if being a feminist means that you don't want to have a traditional family. And that doesn't mean that at all.
I saw a post that said, like, people aren't having kids, or people aren't having as many kids today because, I forget how the post goes, but essentially, like, people aren't having as many kids or kids, period, today as they did back then because they don't have a village to help them. And why is that? Because these grandparents who want to be active in their kids' and grandchildren's lives now have to either push off retirement or come out of retirement to continue working.
Yeah.
Because it's so expensive. They can't live off of what they had for retirement or SSI or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And
with that point, it being expensive to live, mom and dad both have to work.
Yep.
So how are we going to take care of kids? Who's going to be at home with the kids if we both have to work?
I guess in saying that, I'm trying to say that there is no longer a traditional family.
Right.
There's no more.
It's
the
possible,
nuclear,
but it's very, very low.
Yeah. Or the definition of a traditional family has to change.
Right. Exactly. And it can.
Feminism is a Western concept. Reality. While modern feminism has been largely shaped by Western movements, the fight for gender equality is global. Feminist movements exist around the world, with women of diverse cultures, races, and religions leading struggles against gender-based violence, inequality, and discrimination. Global feminism recognizes the intersection of gender with issues like poverty, war, colonialism, and racial justice, and it is not confined to any one geographic region or cultural context. Number 9, feminists are all angry or man-haters. Reality. Feminism is often framed as an angry movement, but it is rooted in peaceful advocacy for change and the desire for justice and equality. While some feminists may express frustration or anger about the injustices they face or witness, it is not an emotion that defines the movement. Feminists are driven by a desire to improve society, to empower people to live without fear of discrimination, and to make the world more equitable for all.
Of course women are angry. Of course they're angry. Of course they're fucking angry. Of course they're angry. What else are they supposed to be? Ooh. You'd be angry if your rights are not correct either. If you didn't have equal rights, you would be angry.
Period.
And the only reason that it's seen as, oh, it's an angry movement is because women are not expected to be acting angry.
Period, sis.
Period.
Number 10, feminism is about taking away from men. Reality. Feminism is about expanding opportunities for everyone and not taking away rights or benefits from one group to give to another. Feminism calls for breaking down the limitations and barriers that restrict everyone based on their gender. For example, it challenges the gender pay gap, which also affects men in some fields, advocates for shared domestic responsibilities, and questions the societal pressure on men to conform to narrow definitions of masculinity. Number 11, feminism is only about women's issues. Reality. While feminist movements have historically focused on issues that disproportionately affect women, feminism is ultimately about challenging systems of inequality, including those that affect men and non-binary individuals. For example, toxic masculinity is a concept that feminism critiques because it enforces harmful standards for men, such as emotional repression, aggression, and the devaluation of traits like vulnerability and compassion. The next is about pick-me behavior.
Okay. Last thing I wanted to talk about was pick-me behavior, something we learned a lot about in Drew Offwallow's book. And I think it's something important to feminism and important to the way that society is right now. So let's try to get through it quickly. Key characteristics of pick-me behavior. Excessive self-deprecation. A person engaging in pick-me behavior may downplay or criticize other women, especially those who don't fit conventional or expected gender norms. This can include belittling or dismissing women for things like their appearance, behavior, or interest to present themselves as better or more desirable or a more desirable alternative. So let's all, when we talk about this pick-me behavior, let's all reflect on the societal norms that we've been taught growing up and try to pick apart these little pieces that we've been taught that are contributing to the pick-me behavior and start pulling those back and stop doing them, like tearing down other women.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, like when your ex gets a new partner, what do? You instantly compare yourself to them.
Yeah. But they're just another girlie just like you were when you first got with that partner.
Yeah.
Number 2, performing for male approval. Pick-me behavior often involves saying or doing things that align with stereotypical ideals of what men want or find appealing. This might include pretending not to care about traditionally quote, feminine interests or activities in order to be seen as one of the guys or different from other women.
I'm not like other girls. I like sports.
Yeah, I love football and drinking beer. Yeah. It's like, do you really love that, or are you trying to be one of the guys?
But also, that's cool and all, but don't make it your whole personality around men.
And it's okay if you really do like that stuff, but ask yourself, do you like it because you like it?
You do, or because
you're trying to impress someone?
Yeah. Have you seen, was it you that posted it? It was something like, you know what, I've decided that I'm no longer cool with things anymore. I'm actually, like, not okay with things that people do.
I don't remember. How long ago was it?
Okay, well, it's kind of like, I think Drew talked about it in her book too, like, if you're a pick-me girl, you have pick-me girl mentality. When you're in a relationship that may be abusive or there's lots of red flags, you tell yourself, be cool. Don't be this over dramatic. Yeah, don't be crazy. Like, just act cool. You'll let shit slide.
Yeah.
And that's very harmful.
Right.
So no, don't be cool.
Stand up for what you deserve.
Right.
And that takes practice, but.
Well, it's kind of like, I lost my train of thought. Go ahead.
Okay. Contradictory feminine traits. Someone who engages in pick-me behavior may overly embrace stereotypical feminine traits or attitudes, but in a way that is designed to set them apart from other women. For example, they might emphasize their supposed purity, modesty, or dedication to traditional gender roles as a way of signaling their worthiness to be chosen or praised by men.
Oh my God. I know what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I feel like I had an example, but I totally lost it, but I get it.
So this is like two ends of the sword, basically.
Yeah.
Performing for male approval and being like, oh, I'm just one of the guys, but also the contradictory of like being very extra feminine.
Yeah.
Like whatever the traditional feminine role should be.
Well, it's also like,
you can't be both. Like, be who you are.
Yeah. Well, it's like those women who like dress quote unquote modestly or whatever. Modestly. That's what I said the first time, but I was like, modest. And they're like, see, I wouldn't go out there. And like women who talk about other women wearing too revealing clothing. Mm-hmm. And it's like, girl, why are you doing that?
She's not hurting you or anyone.
What does it matter?
But that's a way of tearing down other women and othering them from yourself.
And putting yourself on a pedestal. Mm-hmm. Right.
Absolutely.
Like you're somehow more worthy of who?
And shaming someone else when there's no need to. And then that gets perpetuated. And then when we're concentrated on shaming each other, are we concentrated on empowering each other and becoming more powerful beings and tearing down the patriarchy?
Oh my God.
No.
That reminds me, we were in Salem and like, I was walking and there's this girl walking towards us and she had like the cutest boots and she kind of had like a serious face. I'm sure she was focusing on getting to where she needed to be.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh
She's
my
probably
God.
like anxiety filled.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I'm late.
And I was like, oh my God, I like your boots. Instantly glows up. She's like, oh, thank you so much. And Mario looks at me and he like looks all confused and I'm like, what? And he goes, I've never like experienced that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, you give girls compliments like all the time. And I'm like, yeah. That's a good thing. Like,
if I see your nails and I like your nails, I cannot not say anything about them.
That's what I said. I said, you should. And men too. Like, as a woman, like, I know how it feels to receive compliments from other girls. It feels really good. It feels, I'm being noticed. Yeah. So if I see something that she's wearing or that she has, I will comment. Right. And then I think like that same day, a girl said she liked, I think, my purse. And I was like, oh my God, I like your purse. Yeah. And, you know, like, it was like this girly pop interaction. It makes you feel good
about society afterwards. Yeah. Like, faith in humanity restored. Indirect competition. A person displaying pick-me behavior may subtly or not so subtly compete with other women by making remarks that highlight their perceived superiority or uniqueness. This can manifest as comparing themselves to others, highlighting what they do better, or positioning themselves as more low maintenance or not like other women. I'm not like other women. Or like you said, like putting down other women like, oh, look at her, how she's dressed. I dressed modestly and putting myself on the pedestal.
And low maintenance too. You're lowering your standards, girl. Yep. Pick them up.
Why is pick-me behavior criticized? Internal misogyny. One of the main criticisms of pick-me behavior is that it often reflects internalized misogyny. The idea that a woman believes she must undermine other women or conform to male-dominated standards of worth and beauty in order to gain approval or validation. It reinforces negative stereotypes about women and their roles in society.
Where would this come from? Would this come from a mother who's also drinking the juice? Would this come from a father who is like training their daughter? Not a good father, obviously, but yeah, like
it's both. It's all of society, your parents, your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, everybody who's drinking the juice, because everybody's drinking it.
Do you think it's also could be like a primal thing? Like finding a mate?
Yeah, I guess it could be. Like the need to find someone masculine and to act like a damsel in distress to attract that mate.
Not necessarily that far, but just like doing whatever to appease to the man to secure a man.
Yeah. Which is funny because like in bird culture, men do whatever to appease the woman.
We should have bird culture.
We should have in society. Really should. We really should.
In human society.
Okay, reinforces.
I need you to dance for me.
And flap your feathers.
Dance monkey.
Reinforces gender stereotypes. It perpetuates harmful societal expectations about how women should behave to be desirable or valuable, often casting women as competitors rather than allies and elevating women who conform to traditional gender norms while devaluing those who do not. So yeah, even in like there's still a stereotype that women do not conform to traditional stereotypes are lesser than women who do. Undermine solidarity. Instead of fostering a sense of community and solidarity among women, pick-me behavior can encourage division. Women who engage in this behavior may be seen as betraying other women by positioning themselves as the better or more acceptable option, often for male approval. So that's like, that makes me think of in Drew's book where she's talking about like, you should very much like accept the community of women that you have around you and feel its warmth and feel its power and feel its benefits and use it to your advantage. Instead of centering men, center women around you.
Decenter men. Yep.
While pick-me behavior is often seen negatively, especially when it involves self-deprecation or unnecessary comparisons to other women, it's important to remember that social pressures, especially those related to gender roles and expectations, can drive individuals to act this way. Many people, especially in more patriarchal cultures, are conditioned to seek external validation to feel valued or validated. And for some, this behavior may stem from insecurity, a desire for acceptance, or the internalization of traditional gender norms. That being said, the best way to combat pick-me behavior is through self-empowerment, self-awareness, and support for other women, promoting genuine confidence and mutual respect rather than seeking validation through comparisons or competition with others. So if you are more confident and compassionate within yourself, then you won't seek the validation from men, and you'll have more room to empower other women.
You know, something that someone has said is like, oh, this is why I don't have female friends. Or I just get along with guys better. Me thinks
you should have more female friends. Me thinks you should have less male friends.
Me thinks you should do some self-reflection.
So I asked AI to give me some quotes from Drew Afwalo's book that included feminism and pick-me behavior. Or no, just feminism.
Wow, they did all that?
Yeah, let's see. I'm not sure if they're good ones or not. I didn't read them. Feminism isn't about making life easier for women. It's about fighting for the right to live on our own terms, no apologies. Society wants to tell women what we should be, but feminism is about rejecting that. It's about defining who we are and owning it. The most powerful thing a woman can do is lift another woman up. We rise together or we fall alone.
Yeah.
We rise together or we fall alone. When you are chasing after this man and his validation and you're tearing down all these women on the way, you're still going to be alone. This is why I wanted to bring this up in this conversation of like women in politics, because there are women that are following the side of, tearing down women's rights as in like almost a pick-me behavior sense.
It's like, bitch, they hate you too.
Oh, I'm not like the other girls. I'm going to be on this side with the guys. But it's like, no, you're going to fall with us. You're going to be subject to these problems with us. And just because you voted for this person or just because you're on this side, quote unquote, does not mean you're immune from these issues. Does not mean that you will be the chosen one. The most powerful thing a woman can do is lift another woman up. We rise together or we fall alone. Drew Afwalo. Feminism is about freedom. The freedom to be who we want, love who we want, and pursue the life we deserve. It's time we stop asking for permission. If a woman is too much for you, that's not her problem. It's your inability to handle a woman who knows her worth. Feminism is about claiming your space and owning it.
Something that I wish my younger self would grasp, even like myself 4 years ago, you know what I mean? Or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, don't try to convince this man that you are worth it.
Find someone who already knows you're worth it.
Find someone who already knows it. And it's like,
life is not about finding any partner you can and convincing them to love you. Life is about finding the partner that's right for you.
Yes.
And that already will love you for who you are.
That
you love for who they are.
If I would have gotten that through my thick skull, girl.
We should be teaching that in school. Shit.
I can't
Let's write a book. Let's write a textbook.
And I want to say that, why didn't anyone tell me? They probably did.
Yeah.
But I wasn't
But
listening.
societally, you were not raised to believe that.
No.
You were raised to believe that you had to earn people's love. And you had to show them that you were worth it.
Yeah. So, like, I wouldn't necessarily say that, like, what I did was pick-me culture because it was just to one guy. But it kind of falls in line with that, too. Like, hey, I'm the one for you. I'm correct for you. Like, pick me over these women. It's like, yeah, you hate all women, but you hate me less, though, right?
Yeah. Yeah, literally. Feminism is not just a movement, it's a mindset. It's the belief that women deserve everything they've ever dreamed of and then some.
Oh, I love that.
Patriarchy doesn't want us to believe in our power, but I'm here to remind you, your power is louder than any system that tries to silence you. Patriarchy doesn't want us to believe in our power, But I'm here to remind you, your power is louder than any system that tries to silence you. And I felt that shit on the way to the polling places. I felt that shit. Listening to all these stories of these women that did amazing things in history, I felt that shit. Feminism is the refusal to be silent about the things that matter, about the things that hurt us, about the things that keep us from living our fullest lives.
He started sleeping on Mario's blanket that he left.
That's it.
Oh.
Oh, he misses Mario.
He loves him.
Mario Bullen misses you.
Literally. Loves him. I don't get it. I'm just kidding.
All right, y'all. I hope you guys got something good from this episode. I hope you made it all the way to this point because I feel like the things that we said in this episode were very important, especially the ending about feminism and the common misconceptions. And I hope that any of those misconceptions that you learned about today, you'll see through a different lens when you're on social media and you're hearing about feminism or you're hearing comments or posts from people who are feminists who are just trying to make it so that women can live an easier and happier life. And, you know, something that's brought up a lot is that women can't even walk outside safely in the dark. Or period. Doesn't need to be dark. Can't walk by themselves outside. So can we make a society where we are not just trying to circumvent the ways that we can make women safer by giving them tools to defend themselves, but make a society where men do not feel entitled to women's bodies and men do not feel entitled to, you know, whatever they want from a woman, in which case a woman would not have to defend herself.
Right. The root of the issue.
Exactly.
And despite the recent events that have transpired, I hope that none of us lose hope.
Yep. That
this was an empowering episode, that we understand the value of community.
Absolutely.
And the fight never ends. And to be here for one another.
Yep.
And support and have empathy and continue to be vulnerable and having tough conversations.
Absolutely.
And to just, you know,
educate each other.
Yeah. Fragile and not like a flower, but like a bomb.
Yep. All right, y'all. We'll see you next week. Probably be doing some history on voting and government next week. And then we'll do some fun stuff after that.
Yeah. Crazy last couple of months.
Yeah.
Crazy couple of weeks coming up.
Yep.
But we will get
to
some kind of normalcy.
Yep.
We also should be having a guest very soon.
Oh, yeah.
And more great, funny topics, but serious ones too.
All right, y'all.
Buy merch. Christmas is coming up.
Let's put some new merch up.
Okay.
All right. I'll bring the laptop over next week.
Okay. Yeah, bring your laptop next week.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.